Welcome back. Steve Concialdi and Kristina Hamm are here again today. We're happy to have them here.
Thanks.
And last time you were here, you wanted to, or you were going to tell us that you want to talk about poison prevention, right. And you're going to get to that. First thing we're going to talk about too, which is really very relatable here, is unfortunately a fatal chemical spill in Buena Park, and it was at a residence, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, last week, this gentleman who works for a pool cleaning company was in his garage, and somehow the chlorine and the muriatic acid mixed, and it's a deadly combination. And so it must have spilled, and we don't know because when we arrived on scene, he was unconscious in the garage. And you could see the garage door open, and he was surrounded by this yellowish haze that it was just, emitting this toxic fumes, and he was overcome. So our firefighters, were in full turnouts, breathing with their SCBAs, air tanks, and they pulled him out. Other firefighters sprayed him down, which we call emergency decon, and quickly started cutting off his clothes because he had burns to his back, to his neck, and his face.
Wow, actual chemical burns.
Right, chemical burns, because it is so toxic, and then it reacts. The chlorine and the acid reacts, and so.
Now the chlorine involved here, was this pool chlorine?
He works for a pool cleaning company.
Wow.
And so he just had it stored in the garage. And so the lesson for everybody is if you have some of that old stuff, it has to be separated. Chlorine and acids never can be mixed. Right. And you can't store them in the same place. And somehow, if either he was cleaning up or there was a mix or something happened, but I mean, it took his life. And by 11 o'clock that night, he was dead. And this happened about 8:30 or so last week.
And of course, we don't have people here with pool chemicals, but we do have people here who have standard household chlorine or something like that, and they might have ammonia or something else.
Right.
And you don't want to, none of these things you want to be mixing or anything like that.
Right. Actually, that's a good segue into poison prevention. Anytime you mix any cleaning products or anything that has ammonia and bleach in it, it actually will produce a toxic gas. So you may not have those chemicals from the pools and things like that, but you could have just regular household cleaning products that could produce a really toxic gas. So if you're cleaning your home, you never want to mix anything that has ammonia or bleach in it together.
Right, exactly. And there's been problems like that over the years of people doing that, and a lot of them just don't know. They'll mix their own concoction, or just simply they happen to be using a couple different things, and they might spill a little bit, and they combine. And is something like this noticeable right away? Is that what happened with this gentleman here? Would he have noticed that quick enough, like breathing in those fumes, or did it just hit him so hard?
It probably hit him extremely quick. And he works with this, so he was probably trying to either neutralize it or separate it, or maybe even try to just clean it up as quick as possible, but it overcame him quickly.
Okay.
He was found by a neighbor, so somebody's walking by in the evening.
This looked like, is it an apartment complex?
It was an apartment, and these are the garages.
Yeah.
And so the apartment's on top, but somebody walking by basically saw him down. The initial call was there was somebody unconscious around some yellowish haze. That's what the 911 caller called it. So when our firefighters got there, they quickly drug him out. And,
did you have to evacuate the other apartments or anything?
No, because our hazmat team got there right away. They were able to neutralize it, and it was, well, the most people around there were kept back out of the area. Buena Park Police Department kept that, but we didn't have to evacuate the complex. That was a concern at first, but our hazmat team quickly neutralized it.
Let's talk about more common poison possibilities, and that's people with medications, mixing medications and not understanding the problems with that. Things are certainly better nowadays than they were years ago, because hopefully your pharmacy, and they keep things all on file, and they warn people about, here's what you're taking here, but still.
Right. You're absolutely right. It is better than it was in the past. However, we also have a lot more medications than we did in the past. So, you know, the average person could be taking 4 or 5 medications, especially if they're an older adult. So it is a little dangerous. The best thing you can do is always have a medication list, because you may go to more than one doctor, or you may fill a prescription at more than one pharmacy. So if they don't know that you're taking another medication, you could unintentionally have a poisoning. So it's always good to make sure you know which medicines you have, and if you do have any questions about poisonings or which medications could interfere with others, you can always call the California Poison Control Hotline 24 hours a day, and I can give you that number if you'd like.
Yeah, I know we have some good services here, adult day services here with AgeWell. They do a program where you can bring your medications in, and obviously they want them in the bottle. They don't want you just to bring the pills. And they have a staff RN that will look at it and go through that, which is good. But another problem, people throw them away, and they put them down the toilet, or just they got to be disposed properly.
Right, and that's actually also dangerous too. You should never flush or pour medications down the sink, because it then gets into our drinking water, which can potentially have adverse effects on our health. But it's better to return them. Some pharmacies will take back medications, some police departments, some fire departments. It's best to sort of check in with your local station. But and you also never want to keep medications past their expiration date, because the efficacy of those medications is not going to be as strong.
Right, exactly.
And this is a common call we get when somebody takes the wrong medication, or they get a new medication from a different doctor, like Kristina said, and there's a reaction. So we need to make sure that when you do get a new medication, you're talking to the pharmacy and the pharmacist. Hopefully you go to the same one, so they keep those records and they know what you're taking. And then also to label the medications really well. And if you have a hard time with your sight, or then you need some help with that, because too often, and this is the guys in Laguna Woods here will tell you, it is almost a daily call where they've taken the wrong medications and they have a reaction. So they just need to be real diligent, label them well.
Our security department here often will say, you know, one of the best things you can do is have your medications listed on the refrigerator. That way, somebody gets a call, the fire department gets a call, and someone has passed out for whatever reasons, they can immediately see up there, okay, here are the medication they're taking. This is something we can look for here. It's a good help, and it's very easy to do.
Right. So we're looking for your medications, any allergies to medications, your doctor, and your medical history. If you have that, that's the first thing we do. We look for that sheet, or we're asking a loved one. And the problem is if there's not a loved one there, then, and we can't talk to the patient, we don't know. But if we know that doctor and your allergies to medications, your medications, we can contact the doctor, or the hospital will contact.
All right. We're going to talk about the other day, there was unfortunately a house fire. It grew to 2 homes. People might have saw the smoke. We could see it very well here. It was actually right behind where the kind of the DMV is, in that area around where Polly's is, that home, those homes right here. And one thing I read about this, you can see in the lower picture, this was actually a certified, from what I read, daycare, meaning within the home daycare.
Right, the 2-story home. There were 5 children from 9 months to 5 that were inside at the time, and a fire started in this house, and it quickly spread to the house next door. This was a 3-alarm fire. We sent approximately 80 firefighters from companies all around the Saddleback Valley, and unfortunately the home next to it, the single-story home, was a complete loss as well. But it shows how quickly a fire can develop. Fortunately, there were smoke alarms. The smoke alarms went off, and then everybody was able to get out there quickly, get out of the home. But this is devastating. You could see this is the damage. This is the 2-story home. I mean, will be a complete loss, as well as the 1-story home.
Yeah, and as you said, people were home because it happened right around noon, give or take. I know right now you can't go into possible causes. Maybe we'll get an update in a couple months from now. But what we noticed, because it was far, that all the fire crews going there, and yet the flames were shooting out of this home, like it was like, whoa, almost unusually high from what I saw.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's in all homes there's a lot of fire load, and that's your furniture, clothing, anything combustible inside. And you could see this is the fire through the roof that's blowing. And this is dangerous for our guys. They're cutting ventilation holes in the roof to let all those hot gases escape and all the smoke, because we have guys inside trying to make sure everybody's out and trying to save belongings, computers, so forth. I mean, it's an extremely dangerous job, but we're trying to extinguish the fire, and we don't want it to spread to a third home or a fourth home or the homes behind.
And there were 2 injuries to firefighters, right?
Right. One firefighter suffered heat exhaustion. He was actually the first firefighter on the scene and pulled the initial hose line between the 2 houses, and he was trying to keep the fire from spreading, and he worked extremely hard. And so he suffered some heat exhaustion, because our firefighters don't know when we're going to get a call. And so the fire broke, they were close by, and he had a sweatshirt on, and well, you know, he had his turnouts on over the sweatshirt and so forth, and he's working real hard. Eventually went inside the house. It's extremely hot, so he suffered some heat exhaustion. Then one of our other firefighters in here, he said he grabbed something metal inside, and he had his gloves on, but it burned. He had 2nd-degree burns, blistering on his hand. It just shows, even with our excellent gloves we have, you could still get burned because it's extremely hot.
Well, the good news is, besides those 2 injuries, that none of the residents were injured there, especially the potential there with all the children in the home with the daycare. And as I said, we saw it here. We drove down to the area there, not in the neighborhood, but behind where the Polly's is and all that. And as much as the fire service was there, more and more were coming. We could see how large a fire that was. And as you said, thankfully, it was not a Santa Ana wind day. Right. Yeah, because that could have spread
much worse.
All right, the smoke alarms. Quickly, we got about a minute left. You're going.
Kristina.
Did you go back into San Juan and bring more, or is that ongoing?
We are planning another event for March 14th. So from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. we'll be back in the San Juan Capistrano neighborhood, installing alarms in the homes that we were unable to reach last time. So last time we got over 660 alarms installed, and we're hoping to get the rest of the homes this time.
All right, very good. And I know our own community here is involved in getting smoke alarms out to everyone as well. So good to have you guys on.
Thank you.
Take care, have a good weekend. And we're out of time. It's going to be a warm weekend. Expect in the mid to low 80s. And for you people who like to ski, it's going to be a good time to go to local mountains. So take care, have a good weekend, and get your smoke alarms. All right? Bye-bye.